Well, this week, California lawmakers dropped a bill to allow terminally ill patients to end their own lives. This despite pleas from loved ones of Brittany Maynard, a woman who left California for Oregon, which has a right to die law, to die on her own terms after a brain cancer diagnosis. But should people really have the right to die? Here to debate it, Brittany Maynard's widow, Dan Diaz, and psychiatrist and director of medical ethics for the University of California, Dr. Aaron Kheriaty. Thank you both for being here right now. Dan, when you hear that this has been sidelined in California, considering the loss of your wife there, what was your reaction?
A little disappointed in certain assembly members that they're not representing their constituency. Polling in California shows 70% of Californians in favor of this, agreeing with Brittany that the individual should be the person to control their own end of life. So a little disappointed, but not at all deterred, not discouraged. And as far as reading the headlines that, oh, this has been sidelined for the rest of the year, I'm still hopeful that this legislation actually will continue to move forward this year. So, Doctor, we'll wait and see.
Of course. Doctor, what is your main issue here with right-to-die states? We're looking at those that allow suicide, assisted suicide, are Montana, Oregon, Vermont, Washington, New Mexico, and there's a ruling in appeals actually in New Mexico that we're pointing out to our viewers now. What's your view on this?
Sure, there's many problems with this law, too many to enumerate briefly, but basically what it comes down to is that this turns the foundational principles of medical ethics upside down. They place vulnerable individuals at risk, and this notion that the Assembly Health Committee members in California were not listening to their constituents is pure nonsense. There was bipartisan opposition in that committee, including from among Democrats, many of whom said they received calls at a ratio of 9-to-1 opposed versus in favor. And so they were listening to their constituents. They were listening to the concerns, especially of the marginalized communities that they were representing.
I'm going to jump in here just because I want to, the politics are at play. We know that. Let's get personal. Dan, was your wife vulnerable at this point? Did she know what she was asking for? Because I think what I'm hearing the doctor say is that there are people that are concerned that people would either be urged or pushed into wanting to end their own lives, maybe because they're a burden on their family, or maybe because they're just not right of mind. Was your wife one of those?
Right. No. The very things that you mentioned, that people would say, oh, or Kheriaty mentions quite a bit, that, oh, suicidal, uses these terms that are inflammatory, because it gets a lot of attention. But the reality is that my wife was given 6 months to live, and all she was doing was taking the control back from the tumor, recognizing that she had 6 months. And she said, no, I will choose the way, the manner in which I will die, because the brain tumor was going to torture her to death. She was already suffering from seizures, pain that could not be remedied by palliative and hospice care. So the hope was that she would not need to use the medication. That's always the hope. However, she was realistic enough to recognize that if things get bad enough, she is the person that then decides how her passing goes.
Is that
she was
well
not
with you, Doctor?
Depressed, despondent, a cry for help, all those things that the opposition likes to bring up. Absolutely not the case. She was very protected throughout this entire thing, and simply applied for, qualified for, was finally given this prescription, and it sat in the cupboard, and she focused on living life. And we searched for treatment and we looked for
I know it
everything
means a lot
to
to you
extend her
both
life.
to sit here and debate it. We thank you for your time.